You're gonna be my first.
I hear you want to lose your virginity.
And she's been instructed to slip away if she ever feels uncomfortable.
From the most bizarre excuses to morons who act straight up crazy, here's a look at some of the wildest moments from the show. And this, my friends, is Paul Clemente. Yeah, in what world could I not lead off with him? So this dude was a college student who decided to throw his life down the drain over a few twisted fantasies. The dude was into watching some X-rated stuff online, decided to go for something a little more tangible after some small talk online.
So when's the time I could come to your house? Of course when your mom is not around.
I mean, he was really subtle with his question, and from the looks of it, it sure as hell didn't seem like it was his first time. But that's not all. Wait till you hear what he said next.
You're gonna be my first.
Yep, that's right. Paul decided to leave his college and come see the decoy just so he could pop his cherry and go back to his studies a happy man. Yes, the dude claimed to be new to this sort of thing, but was it that simple? Of course not. Now, Chris decided to step in much earlier than planned, because clearly, you can never be too sure with someone as unstable as Paul. But guess what? Right off the bat, Paul recognized Chris.
How you doing?
I'm sorry.
As soon as Chris entered the room, he immediately tried to cover his face. Well, I guess knew exactly what was coming for him next. And well, he kinda knew what to do after getting caught with his metaphorical pants down too. Or at least that's what he thought.
I'm sorry.
Please have a seat.
I'm sorry.
What were you doing here?
Dude just started apologizing even before Chris could ask him anything. Almost like he knew the drill. He kinda knew exactly what to do one after the other. And well, after he tried all other means to wriggle away, he finally did the one thing most creeps did as a last-ditch effort.
Sir, please.
Did you send that to her?
Yes, sir.
To somebody who said she was a 13-year-old girl?
Just look at this crybaby here. Yeah, the same one who did everything from texting to sending pictures and even showed up to go through with his disgusting plan. And now, he was trying to cry his way out of trouble, which he brought on himself. You'll love to see it. But just when you thought he sounded convincing, he shattered that little illusion with something completely and utterly stupid.
Sir, please. I'm not a really bad person, sir. Please.
Oh yeah, so you're not a bad person? I mean, just look at the circumstances you got caught in. I mean, if this dude really meant it, then he clearly couldn't differentiate the good from the bad. But that wasn't the end of his long trail of excuses.
So because a 13-year-old girl says it's okay, you do it.
Yeah, this dude was as far from any sort of mainstream logic as he could get. But let's hope the next dude who showed up has some better excuses up his sleeve.
I hope I'm not in trouble for this.
What?
I hope I'm not in trouble for this.
Okay, so the dude you're looking at went by the name Chandra Nuna, and he wasn't a newbie like Paul proclaimed to be. This dude was a seasoned offender, and he knew very well what he was getting himself into. However, knowing the extent of what this dude was capable of, Chris decided to barge in before the dude got too comfortable.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How are the strawberries?
The dude was probably contemplating every decision that pushed him into driving up to the Sting house. But well, he did show up, didn't he? And there was no going back once he crossed that threshold. And if things weren't already intense enough, he said something completely absurd.
Sorry, this is not what it's supposed to mean.
What's it supposed to mean?
I thought she was alone without a family, so I thought I'll just get her some coffee.
And in that moment, with that sentence, he made things even more difficult for himself. I mean, I really can't figure how he came up with something like that, but not like it was gonna matter to the cops or Chris anyway. However, the dude wasn't planning on giving up. I mean, I really want to know, what exactly are these guys coming over to check anyway? Every other dude who shows up pretty much comes up with the same excuse. I came to watch over her, or I came to protect her. But from what? Yourselves? All you have to do is simply take a good look at the chats and you'll know all of these excuses they come up with are nothing but a complete and utter sham.
Can go to jail for being with a minor.
Yeah, I told her because she keeps asking to come out if you go.
Points for creativity, I guess. But no matter how hard he tried, his fate was already decided. However, Nuna decided to make one last-ditch effort at getting away. Oh no, he didn't try to run. He came up with another excuse which was even more dumb.
Probably be like a big brother or something, nothing more than that.
A big brother? I mean, just look at this guy. The dude looks old enough to be her dad, and here he was trying to play the big brother she never had. But little did he know that the house he was in was literally covering each and every move he made, and his ignorant self couldn't stop with the lies. But, well, I guess Chris was sick and tired of listening to the same excuses on repeat. He decided to drop the chat logs on the table, and Nina felt like he was hit with a ton of brick. With no other option in sight, now that the truth was out in the open, Nuna decided to come clean. mean, or at least he tried to.
Yes, but I just wanted to make sure she's all right. Yes, there was some sex talking there, I'm sure.
Well, points for taking some amount of responsibility, I get. But just like every dude we've seen on the show, when he ran out of excuses, he blamed the decoy for it.
She's the one who started it, to be very honest. And I was
She started it.
Yes.
But Chris was having none of it. Chris could practically read his mind, and he knew exactly what to do next.
She was playing and I was playing. I guess that's all about it, honestly.
However, Nuna couldn't handle it anymore. Imagine being disgusted by your own messages. I guess that speaks volumes in itself. But the dude wasn't about to bow out so soon. He decided to pull one last trick, and this time, he claimed to forget. Yeah, the dude couldn't remember what went down between him and the decoy over the chats, but Chris didn't stop at that.
Looking into your eyes straight and telling you the truth. My conflict of coming here was to make sure she was okay.
The more he spoke, the bigger hole he dug for himself. But the moron didn't even realize it until this happened.
We should just call the officers next time and not,
Try to be the Good Samaritan.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, does he even understand the gravity of the situation he was in? Because what kind of idiot smiles after being exposed? For someone who first wanted to fill in the shoes of a big brother, to someone who simply forgot what was happening around him, it was quite surprising to see him casually get up and leave. So, was he done with the drama? Well, maybe he was, but guess what? It was time for the cops to take over. Well, of course the dude was charged and eventually got the punishment he deserved, but the calm with which he walked out still haunts me to death. I mean, what more was this creep capable of? I guess we'll never know.
I was just coming here to check on her if she's okay.
You don't do that for a stranger.
But here comes a dude you have rarely seen on my video. Yeah, meet David Pan. And believe me, this dude's story is as weird as it gets, even by TCAP standards. I mean, you've seen guys showing up at the house, pacing around, checking for cameras and whatnot, but David was different. He didn't even feel the need to knock before he entered the house. Talk about walking in like you own the place.
And brazenly walks in.
So I have Halloween candy.
Now, let's not forget that this is the same dude who made some suggestive offers while talking to the decoy online. Right from describing his physical needs to sharing pictures of his, you know what? This dude was looking forward to a rather wild night.
He tells her he has a picture of his genitals and says you wouldn't know what to do with it.
And guess what? He took great pride in himself. Dude believed he was the best in executing the act. Well, we'll see about that when Chris decides to show up.
So, you want to see it?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, what did I tell you? I mean, what was this guy? Preschooler? To do whatever he had been asked to do. I mean, it didn't even take him a second to blame the decoy. And well, going by the trend, I'm not even surprised he came up with that.
You got no ice. In the fridge? In the freezer?
But this dude clearly had an air about himself. Clearly it wasn't his first time pulling a stunt like this. I mean, the dude looked way too comfortable to be a first-timer on the creep block. But well, nothing could prepare him for this.
Find the ice okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's come over and have a seat.
You could see instant disappointment on his face as soon as Chris made his entrance. All the poor guy wanted was the decoy, and now he had to deal with this strangely handsome man. Ah, what a bummer. But Chris wasn't about to let this dude go easily.
Who are you here to see? Tori.
And what was David's immediate reaction? The dude was annoyed. Yes, he couldn't believe that all of his plans had failed thanks to a grown man who wanted to ask him some questions. But hey, Chris has been dealing with creeps like him for ages, and he knew exactly how to get him to speak, and well, that's when the lying began. If it hadn't already started before he even showed up.
She asked for pictures?
She asked for it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out what goes on in their minds, really. I mean, what in the world pushed him into sharing such explicit pictures with someone so young? But wait till you hear why he sent them in the first place. Oh, his response is surely gonna leave you scratching your head.
It's just a picture.
Wait, what? Did he just say, it's just a picture? Like, seriously? Well, yeah, and this is just a sting operation exposing creeps like you on TV. Just stating what things are as plainly as possible sure is fun, huh? I mean, at first, he barely had anything to say, but once he got started, there was no stopping him.
While he admits to sending the picture of his private parts, he insists he wasn't going to do anything sexual.
But wait, that wasn't all. What he said next was even crazier.
I have a daughter that's 13.
Yeah, the dude had a kid of his own. I mean, despite being a parent himself, David had absolutely no problem approaching someone who was so young. I mean, how can you disconnect from reality to this extent? Well, keep watching, cause this dude had more surprises in store.
Am I under arrest?
Not right now.
Well, can I leave?
Either way, thanks to the crew, the team had managed to nab yet another moron who posed a great danger to the society. And despite all his attempts, David couldn't get away from facing the consequences of his action. Sure enough, he had to pay the price for his demented thought. Just like this next creep who decided to leave decency at his house before he hit the road to the decoys place. So this ill-mannered idiot is Richard Burnham, and this dude was a notch worse than David. You see, Burnham walked in without having even a slight clue as to what was coming for him, and just like David, he strutted in like he freaking owned the place. Now get this moron was so desperate that he actually used 2 different profiles online to get what he wanted. The dedication each of these guys show on a daily basis really surprises me every single time. I mean, who knows? Maybe he was planning on meeting 2 people at the same time. I mean, there is no end to imagination when it comes to creeps like him.
I have an older friend who wants a virgin.
Oh.
But wait, he didn't just make 2 accounts. He made 2 accounts with 2 different profiles. One where he was younger, and the other where he was an old creep. I mean, who knows what young women are interested in, right? So he thought of giving them options. Pick what you please, right? But guess what? This dude was playing some major games here. When he landed a decoy on the younger account, he asked her if she was okay getting with an older guy, as casually as you or I would be asked if a different brand of soda was okay. And when he got the green light for it, he started flirting from the other account. He really must have a lot of time in his day to plan such an elaborate plan. I mean, dude was probably reeling with happiness because he didn't have to fake his real age for too long. Too bad, buddy. You landed the wrong girl. But obviously, all that excitement was about to go away in just a few minutes.
The man with 2 online identities has driven 3 hours all the way from Connecticut to meet Jane.
Yep, you heard that right. The dude got behind the wheels and drove almost 3 hours to come and get himself arrested. But of course, he didn't know that at the time. And you won't believe what he did as soon as he entered the house.
Casey knows she's surrounded by security people, and she's been instructed to slip away.
Look at that smile on his face. Oh man. This dude couldn't wait to get things going, but once he drew closer, he was left with no one but Chris to answer. If you thought that was weird, wait till you watch this.
Go the other back. May I see it? What is that?
The dude had actually brought lubricant along for all the action that he had planned for the day, but sadly, at least for him, he never got to use it. Meanwhile, without wasting another minute, Chris got straight to business.
Intending on being with her.
Well, he might be one of the first guys to accept what he wanted to do with the decoy right away. I mean, the dude probably was tired after the long drive, but guess what? Wait till you hear about his profession.
But in his former career, he was a firefighter for 22 years.
That's right. He was a firefighter for 22 years, and this is how he wanted to end his glorious career. I mean, to hell with dignity, right? And don't even get me started on the excuses he came up with.
Lonely. And I've got no money.
244 to 247. How is that even remotely related to what he was about to do? I mean, in what way or kind would such an act get him any money?
You decided to have a date with a 14-year-old girl.
It's gonna take me a whole 5 minutes to figure out the amount of lies and stories Richard came up with just so he could get away. I mean, the stories he came up with were so random that they didn't even have any connection with each other. Seriously, this dude was truly one of a kind. But here comes a dude who showed up on the driveway on a motorcycle. Yeah, Dennis Ramsey made it to the house on his bike, but sadly he rode the police car when he left the house. Now, that's the kind of upgrade no one wants. But unlike the 2 dudes we saw before, Dennis was being extra careful.
He stays outside and smokes a cigarette. Our actress tries to get him to come inside.
020 to 025. He really wanted to make sure everything was fine before he even thought of going inside the house. I mean, if he really was this worried, why even show up? But well, no harm giving it a try, right? And get this, he actually bared the wind and the dust for 4 whole hours just to meet the decoy. If only she showed such dedication in other fields, he'd probably not even have time for such escapade. Anyway, this dude had a really twisted idea about flirting.
I like you, and the world says it's wrong because I'm older than you.
Yeah, somehow he thought that was gonna win the decoy over.
If we do, you have to assure me no one will ever find out.
Well, before he could get any more comfortable, Chris decided to jump in and make sure Dennis realized what a grave mistake he had made.
Glad you like it.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. Why don't you have a seat right over that
You can clearly see the fear in Dennis's eyes because he knew he was going to be in a lot of trouble, and obviously he was expecting a girl and not a tall man who's asking him to take a seat.
Oh, man.
Meanwhile, the dude was munching away, flashing the biggest smile ever. And of course, he occasionally decided to drop an excuse or two, because why not at this point?
I came to let her know that when you do that, you can be anybody.
Oh, so you mean to say that you came all the way on a motorcycle just to warn the decoy? Talk about meetings that could have been an email. But anyway, this dude turned out to be quite a piece of work.
And again, you get somewhat suspicious. You say, you're not trying to set me up, are you? Are you a cop?
Well, in that case, maybe he should have just listened to his gut. But you have to give it to him, the dude could feign innocence like no other. But obviously it wasn't enough to fool anyone, and finally got what was coming young for him.
Get down! Get your ass on the ground now!
Yeah, I guess it's time for another long drive, bro. A drive that will land you straight in the slammer. So, those were my picks for today. Now, if you want me to cover any of them in detail, make sure to drop those names in the comments, and I might feature your suggestion in my upcoming videos. And then you could also leave me a message on my social media pages, and please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notification. And hey, if you thought this video was crazy, wait till you see the next one. It's even crazier.